Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. Join us at our kitchen table twice a week as the Mighty Married Moms, Debbie, Linda, Wendy,
invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy,
building marriages with soul-satisfying connection, raising happy, healthy, successful kids. Conversations with Mighty Married Moms will bring you closer to the life you really want. Episode 71. Today's show is brought to you by Deborah C. Owen, Family and Life Coach at YouCanRaiseGreatKids.com. If you are tired of worrying about the choices your kid is making, or tired of the stress of constantly arguing with your kids, or them arguing with each other, then don't wait until you are truly desperate. Get the help you and your family need and deserve today. Connect with your kids with calm compassion. Call Deborah Owen at 978-835-4354. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. Today, we are interviewing the wonderful Sarah Newton from SarahNewton.com. She's an author, speaker, consultant, and youth media expert, which I'm really interested in. Mm-hmm. She has shared her wisdom with millions who have tuned into her TV and radio shows, followed her writing, and listened to her thought-provoking talks. She has an ability to raise the expectations and aspirations of all young people she comes into contact with, and works tirelessly to support young people to plan futures that propel them forward. Sarah, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm really pleased. I'm happy to be here.
This is great. And for those of our viewers and listeners who have just noticed, Sarah is in the UK. So
I am, yes. Yeah. I'm not putting this accent on. It is actually real. Yeah.
It's real. It's real. And this is terrific. We love the fact that we're going global. This is your first non-US guest. So this is terrific.
Oh, yeah. Good. I love breaking new ground. Yay!
Cheerio. Yeah. Well, Sarah, tell us a little bit about how you became this youth media expert and the parent coach that I know you are, and how you very briefly, what was your journey to where you are today?
Okay. Gosh, I've got to go back quite a long time. I was a police officer. And I worked in London, and I dealt with young people that were at risk of offending and that were offending. And one day I was working with this young person, and he took his life. And it had such a profound effect on me. I realized that what we were doing was absolutely failing our children, and it wasn't working. Mm. And no one knew what else to do. So I'd felt like it had landed on my lap, and I had to go and find out what else we could do, which sort of led me into coaching, which led me into a journey of learning how did you support somebody without thinking they needed fixing or that they were broken. And so I sort of went on this journey for about 3 years and got trained in various different aspects of coaching, and then sort of said, okay, I'm ready. I left the police, and I sort of hung up this little banner before anyone had ever heard of the word youth coach or parent coach, and said, hey, I'm here. Okay. And this is what I do. And that was now about 15-ish years ago.
Okay.
And it sort of stemmed from there, really, and just carried on from there. And I'm still here, so it must have been okay.
That's great. That's great. So tell us a little bit about your current practice. What with whom do you usually work, and what are usually the goals of people who work with you? Just give us a brief idea.
It's really interesting because it sort of depends, but the majority of the young people that I work with them on getting their grades up, actually, and making them better at school. But I tend to, for some reason, be really good at that, even though I wasn't so great at grades at school. And I actually think it's hugely important because it's like the first time they're tested in their life. Mm. And if they can pass that test, then they're probably going to go on and be okay. So I spend a lot of time in schools. That. I don't do as much parenting work at the moment because I'm writing 2 books, which has been a bit of a challenge. One of them is a fiction book for teen girls. So yeah, that has challenged me. So so I spend a lot of time writing at the moment, a lot of time working with young people. Not so much working with parents now, although I am just putting together a new program. I'm working with a lot of coaches as well in how they work with young people, because I tend to do things slightly differently and a bit quirky, I think.
Okay.
Tell us a quirk.
Yeah. Well, tell you a quirk. If a child comes in to me, for example, and says, I'm depressed, I might say to them, no, you're not, because this is how a depressed person would have walked in the room, and you didn't walk like this. And you know, so I do things from a very, very different perspective. And really, you can guarantee what everyone else thinks, I'm probably thinking the exact opposite.
Okay.
So I'm kind of used to that by now. I realize I'm sort of quite revolutionary in what I do. So I think I get people thinking differently.
Yeah, I like
about
that.
what they do, and about how we work with young people, and about if what we're doing is actually working and serving them, or just serving, you know, what we think it should be. So so I spend a lot of time provoking people, probably.
I love it. That's great. Provoke people. I provoke people. Well, let me ask you, what do you think from your experience in all these years, what's the biggest problem that young people face in their lives right now?
Oh, I think it's depending, and I've seen it change very, very much throughout the years. I think the biggest problem we have in the UK now, and I actually think we've inherited this from you guys, so I'm blaming you guys for this one.
Go ahead.
Is that every single child now seems to have some sort of affliction or something wrong with them, or they are sort of diagnosed with something. And it's very recent in the UK. I'm talking of the last sort of 2 years. Really recent. So they'll come in, a young person, and they will identify with the label that somebody's given them. You know, hi, I'm Sarah and I'm anxious, and hi, you know, and it worries me to an extent. And I'm not, you know, a fool. I do know people do have mental health issues.
Sure.
But I think what we've done is normalize it. So it's actually normal to say, oh, I've got this and I've got this. And it worries me, because then we've got an excuse not to live, not to do well in life, to misbehave. And I think it worries me to where it's going to go, actually. I'm very concerned about it, particularly in the UK at the moment. And I don't know if it's helpful for them at all.
So that's interesting, Sarah. If you could dive into that a little bit more. I mean, I agree that the problem with labels and diagnoses is it does give people an excuse for not taking action. So
and they are. I mean, I definitely, I'm around teenagers a lot. I have teenagers. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, I have ADD. Oh, yeah, I have. It's like sort of
badge of honor.
Badge of honor. It's not a big deal anymore. It's not. They don't feel weird.
Not
about
that you
it.
want them to be ashamed, but it's also, it's very reductionist in my view. It's very like, this, I am my diagnosis.
Yeah, and also I think what we're doing is putting what were mental health labels onto something that's normal. You know, so if a child's worried about something, they'll go, I've got anxiety.
Right.
No, you're worried about something. You know, it's like my child will come up to me and go, I'm anxious, and I'm anxious. I'm like, no, you're just slightly nervous, and you know, you're anticipating something. It's different. And I think we're not giving them the language to know the difference. So it's like everyone has got something wrong with them, and oh well, I can't do that because you know this, and this is why I do this, and oh I can't possibly do that, I've got anxiety, I can't possibly do this, I've got this, you know. And it just, I wonder if we're raising a lot of teenagers that feel like they're broken and they need fixing. You know, suicide is on the way up again. I mean, 5 young people I've been working with in the last 2 weeks have all tried to commit suicide at some point.
Wow. Yeah.
God, how have we got to the point where they're so sad?
I don't know if your educational system has morphed the way ours has, but I feel like, particularly for boys, because I have 2 boys, and boys, if they want to run around, if they're, you know, daydreaming during class, it's easy the schools want to say you've got ADD or you've got some kind of attention deficit, and boys need to run around and need to be physical, but what we've done in our schools is we're taking away recess, we're taking away arts, we're taking away music, we're taking away all those other very important expressive pieces that, you know, are they will
get them out of the seat.
They'll get them out of the seat, and they'll facilitate that need to do something other than kind of sit and pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, I always say to the young people, I've got ADHD. It just wasn't available to me. You know, it's a diagnosis when I was your age. And there's a great piece in one of Malcolm Gladwell's books, where David and Goliath, where he talks about these things and he calls them desirable difficulties. And I just think that's so beautiful. You know, so when a young person comes into me and says they've got something, I'll say, oh my gosh, you've got a desirable difficulty. How cool. Let's look at that and look at how you can work with that, because it's not a bad thing necessarily. And it does worry me. I really wonder if we're raising a group of young people that are going to have so many mental issues because people are telling them, you've got YouTubers telling them about their anxious moments. It's all over the place. And I think, oh dear, I don't know where it's going. I don't know where that's going to end.
So that's the way that you would work with a kid who's who comes in and says this, and you say to them, oh great, you've got a desirable difficulty, let's see what we can do to make something of this. So that's what you would do then.
Yeah, yes, partly. It's almost like, not that I ignore the label, because I think that would be foolish, but I sort of don't, I don't buy into their story of it. So if they're saying I'm depressed, I say, well, you got up this morning and you got to school. That's really cool. My gosh, you can do that and be depressed. Wow. And so it's looking at it extremely differently and not buying into the story they've got around that or what they think they're able to or not, do or not do with that.
Right. I like that.
I like that too. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's because it's just so uplifting for them, because ADHD's got some great things. That child will learn to focus like no other child you have ever met, because they'll have to, they're creative. They have amazing ideas. They challenge the system. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it isn't. I know. And certainly in our culture, we really are about avoiding trouble at all. We want everything to be safe and protected and easy. Whereas when the challenges come, that's where the juice of life comes in.
Exactly.
That's where that's where you develop a spine. That's where you develop, inner qualities. And it's just so interesting that we somehow, my generation in general, not these three of us, really kind of are trying to find ways of really protecting and putting a big puffy blanket around kids. And it's just so odd. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
Because my parents didn't raise me like that. So it's not like I learned it, or our generation learned it. So it's just very interesting. I'm not sure where it all came from.
Well, I think generationally, we're in the two most child-centric generations. Generations shift about every 25 years. We've got our young people are two different generations at the moment. They're Generation Y and Generation Z, or Z, as you say over there. And they are very different children. They're being parented very, very differently. So we're in a very child-centric sort of space. But I think it just really worry me that I can't see where that this is going to have a good end to it, that we're going to raise resilient, resourceful young people if we carry on the way we are.
Absolutely.
When you say child-centric and the 25-year cycle, do you mean that we've gone through child-centric times prior?
They tend to be, so I was born when was I born? In the late 60s. So I grew up in the teen years in my 80s. So that makes me Generation X. We were the teens that rebelled. We were underparented and we rebelled. So of course, when you give us children, what do? We overparent them to make up for the fact that we were underparented.
Of course.
So we've got parents at the moment overparenting because we were underparented. I mean, it's much more complicated than this, but so it goes in cycles. So when we get back, I'm thinking about another 25 years, we'll get the really naughty kids coming through again. We really need to be prepared for them.
Our grandchildren, great.
Yeah. I'm saying to my daughters, oh, you're lucky. Your children are going to be great. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I want to get into changing the subject just a little bit because of your expertise. I would like to know what you see as some of the benefits as well as the pitfalls of technology and how parents and teachers can bring out the benefits more frequently. Please.
Well, I adore technology. I do have to say I'm probably one of the only people that I know that I am such a techie geek, and I turned into that because I adored it.
Great.
About sort of 8 years ago, or maybe it's a bit longer, about 10 years ago, I started to see or think that technology was changing our young people. So I sort of decided to investigate it, and really dig into it and really see what was happening. And From what I see, I think there are pitfalls, but I don't think they're as big as we think they are. I think it does some great things. I think it's taught our kids to be creative. I think it's taught them to speak up and out. I think it's taught them to be more multicultural and more accepting. So I think it's taught them, technology, when I look at what technology's done for me, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can reach out. If I've got a problem, I can speak to the person. It's connected us all, I think, in an entirely different way. So people say we're disconnected. I'm not sure that's true. I just think we're connected in a different way. I personally feel so good that I can text my child to tell her to come downstairs and I don't have to go and shout. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Personally, come downstairs. It's fine. I think the challenge for me in technology is a little bit like what I was talking about earlier, to do with the mental health. So what I see happening a lot is that the thoughts that should be in our head and should stay in our head, and making it into the public eye. So I might be having a really negative day and having really negative thoughts, and instead of just thinking them to myself, I put them on Facebook and everyone thinks I'm about to, slip my wrists or something. When actually I'm, not that I do that, but that's what young people do. And I'm working with a psychologist at the moment who's looking into this, because what my fear is that sort of talking like you've got a mental illness online could actually possibly incite a mental illness. And so we're looking into this, like, if you go online and go, I'm anxious, I want to kill myself, I'm not, and all that stuff that we say to ourselves, we all do it at some point possibly, is public. And so that bit slightly does concern me. But there's not really a lot else that concerns me actually about it. I don't think there's paedophiles waiting around every corner. There's always been that. I don't think it's different on the internet. It happening is minute. I don't think our children are forming little gangs together to do bizarre things. They're helping each other actually on the internet. So I just think it's the uncensored sort of outpouring that could end up, not so great. And also the trolling. That's just horrible. That's always going to be there. The trolling, the sort of the bullying online. You put up a YouTube video and someone starts telling you, your nose is this. I did one once and someone started going on about my eyebrows. It actually made me like really conscious. Oh, this is ridiculous. My eyebrows. And I thought, gosh, how must these young girls feel? That's happening. So I think there's actually more positives than negatives. And I think that what parents must not do is overreact to everything that we hear in the media and actually just have conversations. So if we hear something in the media about something happening online, that we don't judge and we ask our child, what do you think? And they will tell you, like, it's a load of rubbish, or actually, yes, that did happen to my friend, but we all, joined in and helped her.
Took care of it.
So I think it's not a dangerous world out there as we think it is.
And we need to teach kids to use this stuff well. And in fact, I have a book about it called Social Media Fascination, which is all about teaching kids to use social media, or really any kind of technology, well, from a good intention, as opposed to, from as a weapon. As a weapon, right. And that's face-to-face interactions as well as online. And as you pointed out, Sarah, the difference is that, when it's online, it's there forever. Whereas if it's face-to-face, well, it kind of, the memory forgets exactly what was said, and you can try to make it up to the person. But if it's online, it's there forever. And that's the piece that kids don't get, I think. Absolutely. And I'm not sure they ever will, because that's so the way that they're used to communicating. And I think, as adults, we can't control that space. And if we really need help in there, we have to go to them. Because to us, it wasn't created for us. It wasn't created from us, and we don't really get it. I've tried so hard to understand Snapchat.
Me too. Yes.
And I am flummoxed. I have to say, I get most things. Snapchat,
my daughter has shown it to me on several occasions, and I still scratch my head and like, really? Why?
It's got to the point where they want
my
to
say, communicating through Snapchat.
Yeah. They'll just take a picture of the Snapchat and then send it to me, you know?
So what's the point? I know. Just put it on Instagram or Twitter or something, you know?
And I think what we will see is more of this technology that young people are creating that we don't understand as adults.
Right.
So we can't control it because it's not coming, their brains are so different. You know, we get Facebook, we sort of get Twitter, we kind of quite like Instagram, Snapchat. Whoa.
Yeah, and they seem to be gravitating away from whatever the adults are on. They don't want to be on. My kids are like, Facebook is for old people. I don't even use Facebook. I'm like,
I mean,
yeah, they say nobody uses Facebook, and I'm like,
you're wrong on that. None of your friends are. That could be true.
But I know a lot of marketers who make a lot of money by advertising on Facebook, so somebody's on Facebook.
Absolutely. You know, but it's like when we were children, we'd go out, hang out on the park or the street or whatever. You know, we wouldn't have gone somewhere where the adults were with us.
We
wouldn't have done it. It's crazy. Or our mum's peeking behind the bush to see.
It's not happening.
They're just doing what they've always done. They're just doing it in a different way, and we're sort of petrified, where there probably were more danger when they were out on the streets, to be honest.
I know, right?
That's true.
Do you think that the use of social media is a reflection of something that's maybe missing in their lives that us adults could kind of come around and support in a different way?
No, I think it's just a communication tool. You know, we went home and we spent forever on the phone to our friends, you know, whereas our parents would be coming and going, okay, you know, it's been, you know, an hour now. You know, and we'd do things like that, or we'd go out and we'd be with them. And I think they're just not doing that, but they're with their friends. They're just with them within this sort of world that's inside rather than outside. So I think it's just a communication tool.
You spoke about the self-identification with all these diagnoses and so forth. Again, do you think that is there something in young people that we as the adults are missing, that there's some sort of a hole in their experience that we could come alongside and help them in ways that we're just not attuned to? We think we're doing all the right things, but maybe there's something we're missing?
Well, I think that we forget how important we are as the adults and the parents. And there's so much, there's so much research being done into these younger generations that show that they actually care about their parents. I mean, to me, it's like what you really, I can't remember ever listening to my parents, but they listen to us and they care about us, and they do. And I think it's so easy for us to forget that.
When they're slamming doors in your face.
Yeah, when they're doing all of that stuff. And actually all they really want, and all I think our job is as a parent, is a relationship with us where we see them fully, we listen and we don't judge them and we don't, nag at them. We just have a great relationship with them because they want that and they care about us much more than any other generation has ever really cared about their parents. We're so important to them. So important.
Interesting.
Why do you think there's a difference? Why do you say that kids care more today than they used to?
Well, if you look at generational theory, this is the most traditional generation we've seen. They're very traditional. They're very family orientated in their values, and they've actually, they just care about us. I think it's just like sort of a cycle that the world goes in as well. But they just I don't know why, actually. I think we can look at generational theory and sort of pull it out, but they just they are hurting, I think, from not having sort of relationships in their life that mean a lot, because there's a lot of fake out there at the moment. There is a lot of fake, and they look at us to provide that, whether whatever they're doing on the outside, that is what they want from us, a real relationship where we really see them.
That's true.
That's so fascinating that they would be the most traditional generation.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of research done into this, but basically things like
teenagers, current teens,
the ones that are born from 2001 downwards are the most traditional generation. So they're 14 now. And the ones above them were like the hero generation. So they're the generation that are here to save us from ourselves, apparently. But the one we've got now are the real traditionalists. And even in some of them older young people, what you're seeing is they're joining things like WIs and they're doing much more traditional type things. You know, they're cooking more. I mean, there's been, I mean, this is really going off, but you'll like this one. There's been some research done into the healthy eating habits of the Gen Z, the 2001 downwards. And they are pushing their parents to buy more salad.
To buy more salad. Okay.
Wow.
Salad items have gone up, and the only thing that they can link it to is these young people. I mean, my daughter's 14. She works out every day. She has a meal plan that she's getting from YouTubers.
Yeah.
So, you know,
It's true. You're right about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
My son too. He's 14. And
he's doing it.
Yeah, he's not even, and he was always a picky eater. And so it's always been a challenge to like get him to eat more, but not make it a chore and not make it a negative thing, but just sort of trying to get him to introduce him to more foods. And I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, and he doesn't really like a lot of fruit, but he has about 5 vegetables that he really loves. And he was telling a friend, he goes, yeah, I'm not really a fruit guy. I'm really more of a vegetable guy.
Yeah, I mean, they are coming up as being one of the healthiest generations we're going to see for a long time, and they're pushing their parents.
They are,
you know?
yeah. My kids are really into it. They think it's a badge of honor. Like it's not like a nerdy, weird thing. It's like, I'm cool because I eat healthy. I drink smoothies and I do these things. So it's not just that I did a good job as a parent. It's their generation. No.
Yeah. Generationally, they're doing it, and they're doing it en masse, you know, and the salad industry better be ready for them.
Right?
That's
funny.
funny.
When they're making videos too, right? They make videos about everything that they do, and so
everything.
I think that's one of the exciting things about technology too, is it can be very empowering. They can start to think like entrepreneurs at a very young age because they're able to access and put it out there.
Yeah.
I read a quote from somebody that these telephones are we have all become movie producers.
Yeah, we've all become everything, haven't we? I think, you know, not just movie producers, absolutely everything. And I think that is so freeing and so liberating. And when we talk to people about what job are you going to do, I think we've failed miserably because most of them won't have jobs. Right. You know, yes, some of them will. They'll be lawyers and doctors, but what about the others that are just, you know, like, well, actually, I don't know. Well, hey, you know, what can you create? Because you can do anything, you know, absolutely anything.
Be a movie producer.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you just got to look at some of the YouTubers over here. You know, I don't follow the US one so much, but Zoella has just been making a massive, you know, hit over here. She's got, I don't know, 8 million followers. She had a book that sold more than, in the first day, sold more than J.K. Rowling.
Wow.
You know, I mean, they her boyfriend, who's also a YouTuber, had a book launch, and they had to call the police helicopters out. There were so many people there.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
So we missed that one. We'll have to go check the news. That is amazing.
So, you know, there's young, and they're 23, 24, multimillionaires, you know, and young people are, and it's like we have conversations as adults about Kim Kardashian and Miley Cyrus and what's on telly, and we're missing the point. They're on YouTube watching YouTubers who are doing great, amazing things. And the parents are like, well, what do you think about this on telly? I said, the kids don't even care. They're not watching it.
Yeah,
they're not.
True.
Right.
They're all
So
watching
true.
YouTube.
Yeah.
My youngest son is just finished his freshman year at a university in New York, and he is in a program for composition, and he taught himself how to compose by watching YouTube videos. I mean, they didn't offer composition in high school. So how did he learn? He just learned by watching YouTube videos.
Amazing.
You know, I mean, it you know, we can't look at them, I think, as a generation and not be in awe of what they've achieved at such young ages, some of them, and the empowering message that is giving other young people. But I think some of the adults don't see that, you know, and it's like, oh, well, you can't be a YouTuber. I'm like, well, why not?
Why not?
You know, it just takes a bit of work, you know, that's all.
Yeah. Gosh, Sarah, there's so much we could talk about. This is really fascinating.
Is it time again?
It's time to go.
Already?
Yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
what I'm going to ask you two things. One is, what is your last word? Is there a key message that you like to leave with people? And then two, how can people find you and
What's going on?
Get your stuff?
Oh, a last word.
Yeah.
I would say when you're around teenagers, just have fun. Just go with the flow and have fun, because that's what they're about. And I think if we can enjoy them, enjoy your teenagers. Yes, that's it.
A lot of adults are afraid of them.
Yeah, no, they're just great. Enjoy them, you know, be with them and enjoy them. People can go to my website, sarannewton.com. Things are changing massively in my world at the moment, because obviously I've got a novel coming out soon and there's a new book I'm writing. So the best thing they could probably do is scroll down to the bottom of the website and just put their details in so they can, you know, be up to date with all of this.
Yeah, on your mailing list, yeah.
Everything is changing. There's about 3 programs I'm working on at the moment that will be coming out. So it's all shifting and changing. And writing a fiction book has been interesting. I think I might have to I could even write a book on writing a fiction book, which I actually wrote with my 18-year-old daughter. So,
great.
Well, she was 16 at the time when we wrote it, so that's how long it's taken.
Yeah, that's great. So I'll just.
So you should spell that out. Spell out your website because Sarah can be said, you know, spelled different ways.
Okay, it's SARAH and Newton NEWTON.
Perfect. Okay. sarannewton.com.
Yeah.
Great. So Sarah with an H.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for being with the Mighty Married Moms and our wonderful interview today with Sarah Newton. And this was really a special treat for us and for our listeners and viewers. And we would ask that you would please subscribe on iTunes and go leave us a rating and review if you feel so inclined. And please share us with your friends and neighbors because we hope that we're able to bring value to your life, and we would love to have you share that with everybody that you meet. So thank you for being with us today, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. See you next time.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mighty Married Moms. Tune in twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays to meet fascinating and inspiring guests who will help you create the life you've always wanted.
You can find these episodes and special gifts just for you at mightymarriedmoms.com, as well as a link to our Facebook community,
where we continue the conversation around the kitchen table. Please also help share the love by leaving a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.